Hello, my name is Jessica Beaver. My UTA student ID number is 10020065832. I am seeking my master's degree in the Educational Leadership and Policy Studies program, and this is my second observation in my coursework. In the first part of this video, you will see me conducting a pre-conference with a teacher, a sixth grade teacher, Ms. Perez, for her upcoming T-tests. All right. Well, thank you for meeting with me this morning to go over this. I'm very excited. So, what objectives will you be addressing in your lesson that I will be coming to see?
We will be talking about TEAC 6.3D, so it's adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing integers fluently. This week we're working on adding and subtracting only. So next week we have 2 days of multiplying and dividing, and then we combined all that with a new TEAC, which is PEMDAS.
Oh, yes.
So we'll do PEMDAS, but with integers, so negative numbers too.
Okay. Have you been doing PEMDAS already?
No.
So it's new for them?
Yes, and then this is the first time we'll see the same thing again, but then we'll introduce exponents later.
Okay. Okay. Very interesting. Okay. So what do you expect the students to know and be able to do by the end of the lesson?
To know the rules for multiplication and division with integers. Okay. So same sign is going to be a positive, different signs is going to be a negative.
Okay.
Product or quotient.
And then academic vocabulary will be very important, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And then in your unit, curriculum unit, what day does this unit plan fall on? Do you know?
Not off the top of my head, but I can pull it up.
Okay.
This is going to be 5, 6, 7, 8 or 9.
Day 8 or 9 in your unit?
Yep.
Okay. Perfect.
And it's a 12-day unit, so
Oh, okay.
pretty close to the end.
Very good. Okay. And then, so what are the prerequisite skills that the students have to know in order to be successful in this lesson?
So they have to know what integers are. So they know we're looking at whole numbers and their opposites, so negative numbers. They have to know their multiplication and division facts or a strategy for multiplying and dividing.
Okay. Okay. How have they been doing with that so far that you've seen?
Not as memorized as I would like or have been in years past.
Really?
But they have more strategies to use, so they're actually probably a little more efficient.
Oh, that's good.
So
they have something in their toolbox that they can use if they don't know the fact.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Because usually you could see more memorization sometimes.
Yeah. Like in the years past, they feel like they have to have it memorized. Well, they should have it memorized. And then they just sit there and struggle trying to just do it in their head.
Right.
Where the students I have now, they're just like, no, I'm just gonna write it out.
That's good. So do you feel like the lower grades are doing a good job of like teaching them those strategies?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's nothing that I taught, so it's something that they come to me with.
So their numerical fluency and things like that are stronger.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. So when you have that vertical alignment, that's something good to share with the grades below you. So, all right. So then, so let's talk about the students in your class that I will be coming into. So just describe to me the varied learning needs of the students in this class, especially those or including with disabilities or our ELLs, and how you plan to prepare them to meet their needs.
Okay. So that is my class that's with my SPED cluster.
Okay.
So they get pulled probably like at 8:30-ish.
Okay.
So they're only with me for the teach part, the mini lesson part, and then they get pulled. And then that's kind of my behavior class. So I have a lot of students who are struggling with behavior, so just a lot of constant redirection. Academically, most of them are fairly on level.
Okay.
Besides my SPED cluster. So it's not a lot of academic accommodations other than the SPED. It's more behavior accommodations. So a lot of reminders to stay on task, a lot of picking battles.
Yeah, that's hard. Okay. And then, so how will you though differentiate any instruction that you might need to do in order to meet, you know, let's say they're not on getting it, they're not understanding the lesson, like what would you do or plan to differentiate?
So I would probably give the lower academic students the triangle for the sign rules. So I have make like a triangle, and then in the top we break the triangle into 3 sections. The top is a plus, the bottom 2 are a minus, and then so that's how we look at the sign rules. So if it's a negative times a negative, we'll cover the 2 negatives, and the sign left is a positive. So it's a positive. If it's a negative and a positive, the sign left is a negative, so we know this product or the quotient's going to be a negative.
Oh, I like that. So giving them that visual to help them, because a lot of those kids, they are visual learners. I mean, I know I like visuals, so that's a really good strategy to teach them, and they like that. It helps a lot.
Yeah,
that's good. So you teach it to everybody or just the ones that
I teach it to everyone.
Okay.
My advanced academics class, I'll expect them to make their own.
Okay.
For the first little bit, I will give, or if they're on level, I expect them to make their own on their scratch paper or on their whiteboard.
Oh, okay.
If they're struggling, I will give them a copy. They have to put in the positives and negatives, but I will give them the triangle.
Oh, that's good. That's definitely very learning differentiation. That's very good. Okay, very good. Are there any particular grouping structures in place in this block? Like, if so, how will you hold students accountable for group work? Like, you group them a certain way, or?
I like to do just random, just so they're working with someone new each time. And then I do my groups, if I have to adjust groups, is more based on behavior than academics.
Okay.
And then as I'm walking around, if they're on task, they're getting tickets.
Okay.
So our classroom incentive is what they're working for.
Okay, very good. Okay, and then so how will you assess whether or not the students met the objectives for this lesson?
The exit ticket at the end of the lesson.
Okay.
And then I'll look at the we do part. It's the add 3. So it's a card game. So they have, they'll pick 2 or 3 cards, and they're either going to add or subtract them. And then it's on a piece of paper. So I'll look at their products at the end and see if they're, most importantly, the right sign and then the right number. Okay.
And you use your exit ticket to help you plan your lesson from like front loading it?
Yeah.
That's good. Okay. Okay. And then, so when I'm in there, is there anything in particular you want me to observe with regard to areas of reinforcement or refinement?
Probably if I just how I could make things more student-centered, because my notes part is definitely teacher-centered, and I want to try to work my way towards more student-centered.
Okay. You mean during that we do time? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I definitely look for that when I'm in there. What are your plans for lesson closure and reflection?
So I'm going to use my quality question. So how are we going to use this in the real world?
Oh, yes.
And I think that it's really important to 6th graders, I think, because why do we need to learn this? Why is this important? So if I ask them that question and then they have to think about it, it's more meaningful to them.
Yes.
And then we go into an exit ticket, which is about like, how would you solve it with your words, not mathematically. So they're telling me how they would solve it.
Yes, that's really, really important. And you said, they're older, they're almost to junior high, things are more relevant to them. So anytime you can make learning like that relevant and meaningful to them, they're going to make that connection.
Yeah.
And then, so you want them to write and verbally explain how they are solving or how they're thinking. Have you been working on that with them? How's that been going?
It's a struggle because I don't like to write.
Yes.
And they're like, we're in math class, why do we have to write?
Oh,
so getting complete sentences is a struggle.
Yes.
So I'm kind of not really too focused on a complete sentence. Like I'm okay with bullet points.
Okay.
As long as they're explaining their thinking and I can see like cohesive thoughts.
Okay.
And I can see their processes.
Okay.
That's fine, because the complete sentence is not a battle I'm trying to fight anymore.
Right.
Because I just need them to write.
Right. That's true. That's true. How do your ELLs do and the SPED do with
My
the
ELLs
writing?
struggle a lot because I have beginners.
Okay.
So brand new to the country.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of them working with me.
Okay.
And then I'll translate. We'll do it in Spanish or Arabic first.
Okay.
And then we'll translate that to English.
Oh, okay. So they're seeing it both ways.
Mhm.
That's good. That's good. Okay. Well, that's fun. Are there any other things I should know or be aware of before I come in? Any other special circumstances or anything that you can think of?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. All right. And then where would you like me to sit when I come in? Because I don't want to interrupt instruction.
Yeah.
Where would you like me to sit?
I have a lot of them sitting like in the front, so any of those back seats.
Back seats?
would be great.
Okay.
Because those are just open desks.
Okay.
So.
All right. All right. Well, I'm excited to come in and observe and see all the things that you do and see how, the lesson goes.
Yeah.
And if you have any other things you want before I come in, just let me know.
Yeah,
or if you think of anything else or you want to meet again, just let me know and we'll get that done.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Hello, this is Jessica Beaver. My UTA ID number is 100206582. I am seeking my master's degree in the Educational Leadership and Policy Studies program. This is part 2 of my second observation for my coursework. In this video, you will see me conducting a post-conference after a T-test observation with Ms. Perez, a 6th grade math teacher on my campus.
All right. Well, thank you for letting me come into your classroom.
Yes, absolutely.
I really enjoyed being in there with the 6th graders.
Yeah.
They're so, I forget how much they, as you go through the grades, how they change. Because I remember seeing them when they were little and now they're so big.
Yeah.
It was nice to be in your classroom. So I'm going to go over your my ratings of you, but let's just have some conversation. So how do you think the lesson went?
The lesson I think went okay. I think they were still a little bit iffy. They still, even now, are still a little bit iffy with those sign rules. I think it's just a lot for them, just coming at them at once, learning what negative numbers are, and then having to do operations with them. So they get confused with those sign rules because adding is different from subtracting, and then adding and subtracting is way different from multiplying and dividing. So they try to apply rules to the wrong operations.
Yeah, that can happen. And then how did you come up with that visual of the triangle that they had? Because I saw a lot of them using that in their IJs. So how did you come up with that? Is that something?
That was just something provided in curriculum.
Oh, curriculum, right?
Yeah, but they made it look like a face upside down.
Oh.
And I just thought it was a little confusing with the negative symbols for eyes. So I just made it a regular. I made it upright, so the one positive's at the top.
Okay, so you took what the curriculum gave you and modified it to meet the needs of the students because you knew.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. And how have they been doing with that? Has it been helpful? That
With
visual?
the triangle, yeah.
The triangle has been more helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw some of your students when you said that they could go to bring their notebook with them. They were like, yes, and they were going. So you could tell that whatever you've done really impacted their learning, and they felt confident that they had something that was relatable to them.
And then something that I learned from my last block was I was just covering them up with my fingers, and I saw my third block start filling them in. And then so for my first block, the next day I started filling them in, and they were more successful with identifying what the leftover sign was.
Can you explain what you mean by filling it in? Can you show it to me?
So it was like this.
Okay.
And if I had a negative and a positive, my third block was filling them in as I was covering them.
Oh,
so
okay.
then this is our symbol.
Oh.
So then I started doing that with my first block, and they were a little more successful than covering it.
So they were
So-
shading
Mhm.
and covering.
So
it
I'm
for
gonna
the-
start with that next year.
Okay. So one block showed you that strategy.
Mhm, yeah.
I do like it when students, they're also, that's a great opportunity for them to take ownership of their learning.
I know.
I mean, those students thought of it on their own to do
Yeah.
that. And it really just like ignited their learning for them to do that.
And it's just that extra visual piece that,
Mhm.
I mean, obviously I don't, because I know what the answer is going to be.
Right.
But it's just that extra visual piece that me realizing that they need, that I
Right.
can provide for them next time.
Right. And it's funny how you can plan as much as you want, and then in the moments of teaching, something pops in, or you see a student do something that you want to share. And I think that's great that you recognize
And
that.
I'm like, wow, these kids, they're just so smart. Like, I would have never thought of that.
Mm-hmm. And that's why, I think, that's a good thing that you got it and you ran with it and you used it in the other blocks, and then that helped them feel more successful. I think that's a great idea. So, what do you think went well during the lesson?
I think the cooperation in the game worked well. I really like to do random groups.
Mm-hmm.
So just always having a different partner, and sometimes they, have a problem with who their partner is. But I think they were really excited about the game because it was the second time we kind of got to play it. So I didn't really have to explain instructions. They got to work pretty quick, and they were pretty on task most of the time.
Yeah, they were on task. The activity was fun and they liked it. Didn't hear too many, I'm sure is it something you've worked on to learn how to work with different people? Is that
Not
something
explicitly,
not explicitly?
but it's just, we're in Miss President's class, we're going to have a random group, and
Okay.
it is what it is. Maybe, hopefully, fingers crossed, next time I could be with my friend, but
And they know the expectation.
yeah.
That's good. And I mean, everybody seemed to just go with their group. You had a few friends that were vocal
Yeah.
about what they wanted.
Mhm.
And I like that you just stuck to what you wanted to do in order to organize your kids to get the activity done.
Yeah.
I like that.
And they were pretty on task doing what they needed to do, so it was nice because I had to pull one
Yes,
to my table.
I saw that.
So,
Yes, I noted that one student needed extra because they were not awake during that part of the lesson. I think I saw how you pulled that student to the table, so that student still got the we do part of the lesson, and then they were able to go apply that in their group. So that was a good monitor and adjust that you did.
yeah.
So what would you, if there was anything you could change about the activity or the lesson, what's something that you would change?
Now, I would probably extend it a little bit. Obviously, if we had more time.
Right.
Always more time. But maybe ask them like a really probing question, like what kind of cards would you need in order to get the biggest sum, or the biggest difference? Why did you not win that round? What was different about your partner's cards that let them win? And then probably write about, again, solving how they would do it with words, not just with.
Yes, I did note that because that was something that you wanted me to watch, is how to make it more student-centered. And your exit ticket, they were supposed to look at the equation, and then I liked how you had them write it in words. Because since you wanted me to see what they could do more, having them write it on their recording sheet, because the recording sheet was very nice the way it was laid out. I think that would have been a good idea just for them to get practice. And I like how you want to extend it and push their thinking past. That's really open-ended and high level.
Yeah.
That gets them in the driver's seat of their learning.
Yeah.
And then having them write it more. The more opportunities that they can write. And it's hard for them. Is it hard for your kids to do the right to explain?
A little bit, but like I said last time, like I can't fight that battle of a complete sentence. So I said, I just need a thought, like a complete thought.
Right.
If you can give me a complete thought and explain it in 2 sentences,
Mhm.
then go off and give me those 2 sentences. But I need to be able to fully understand. Pretend I'm like your parent who doesn't know anything.
Right.
I can't, if I don't understand, then I can't give it
Right.
the grade that you want because you didn't fully explain.
Right. And how did they, have you ever also considered maybe giving some kids some sentence stems on their paper? I mean, that might get them going.
I think some sentence stems like in their caddies would be a good idea.
Oh, yes. I did like your caddies. I thought that was very, it was very organized, and they knew exactly what to do. They knew exactly what was in them. They were prepared, and that really did help with getting from one activity to the next, because they were all sitting, and then they had to get up and then go with their random partners and find each other. And 6th graders, they're bigger bodies.
Yeah, they are.
And they got to where they needed to go. They did exactly what was next. They knew what those caddies were for. So I thought that was really good. But I think those are some good changes that, to think of to push their learning and give them even more ownership of what they're doing.
Yeah.
So if you would rank this lesson as like a 1 to 10, like 10 being like the best lesson you've done, and a 1, what do you think this lesson would be?
Probably like a 6.5.
Math teacher 6.5.
Yeah.
Why would you rank it like that? What do you think?
Because it was definitely better than like my average lesson.
Oh, okay.
So like in the top half.
Mm-hmm.
But I would have liked them to be able to tell me when they see subtraction KCC, instead of me having to ask probing questions to get them to think of KCC themselves.
And KCC is keep change.
Change.
Okay, I did ask. I was asking, hey, tell me what KCC. They knew what it was. They knew what that mnemonic was.
They know what it is, but it takes a couple of questions to get there.
Right. Like, what kind of questions do you ask them to get them there?
What do we do when we see subtraction?
Okay. Yep. Just those questions. Like what? And it actually carried over into the game. So when you did the activity before you got them started, you were asking them those questions, and they knew the answers. And they seemed pretty confident when they were doing it on their own. When I walked around, they knew what they were doing, and I even said, hey, can you explain this to me? And they did a good job, and they were using mathematical vocabulary.
That's awesome.
So I think, the kids really did respond well to everything that you did and the modifications and how you handled it. So, okay, so what I'm going to do now is we're going to go through the 3 of the 4 domains, and I have rated you. We always, you want to remember that proficient is exactly where you want to be. That's rock solid. You're doing everything you're supposed to. You're being the amazing teacher that you are. And we use the descriptors that we can go, we start there, or we can go up, or we can go down.
Right.
So just remember that as I'm going through your rating. So the first domain is planning. And in standard 1.1, standards and alignment, I rated you as proficient. You designed a clear, well-organized sequential lesson that reflected the best practice and alignment with the standards of the diverse learners. The goal of your lesson was aligned to the state content standards. It was TEAC 6.3D. Student is expected to add, subtract, multiply, and divide integers fluently. And that was something I noticed that they did very well with, was they were pretty fluent with there wasn't a lot of, I did not hear anybody say, I don't understand. And I thought that was really impressive, because that just is a testament to what groundwork you laid before that lesson. Because anything that you scaffolded with them, they knew what to do, and they had a good support system in the classroom. So, good job on creating those previous lessons. But nobody said, I don't understand. And nobody just sat there. They were engaged and they were working. And, and I know the focus of this activity and lesson was adding and subtracting those integers. You had your DLI. I will create rules for adding and subtracting integers. And then it was sequenced to provide scaffolded support for the students' understanding of the processes of adding and subtracting. So I like how you have math workshop, flowcabulary. Can you tell me what flowcabulary
so
is?
it's like raps about content.
Okay.
So you have to pay for it, but they have like multiplying fractions, dividing fractions, multiplying decimals, dividing decimals. They have adding integers, subtracting integers, multiplying and dividing integers, and it's just like a less than 5-minute video. So that's like my hook.
Okay.
And I show that.
Oh wow. And you know what? Putting things to music. I mean, think about us. I remember things put to music.
Yeah.
So that's really good. I'm sure they really like those.
Yeah, especially the ones that are like very repetitive that I get tired of really quickly. Those are the ones that like stick in their brains and they're singing it all the time.
Well, you know, repetition.
But
works.
I mean, it's gonna help them be successful. So.
Right. And I did want to also ask about, you know, I didn't get to see Math Workshop. Can you tell me a little bit about what Math Workshop is and how it looks in your class? And
so I pick either highly tested TEKS or TEKS that we performed low on based on past unit assessments. And I have 6 stations, so everyone in my class is separated into one of those 6 stations. And they'll stay with that group for the 6 weeks. And so for that 6 weeks is only those 6 stations.
Oh, okay.
And they'll just rotate. I only do it 3 days a week. So they'll see it 2 times?
Yeah.
2-ish times. So if they need, like my advanced academics, they typically need a little bit more. So I'll either give them like a different set of cards to extend that, or like different problems, but it's the same TEK.
Oh, okay.
One is always progress learning. One is always like a BLOOK kit or a GIM kit on fluency.
Okay.
So either fraction, decimal, percent, like under getting those equivalents, or this adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing.
And if you've seen growth in those from the workshop stations, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good that you use your data to pick those stations.
Yeah, and then if I need to pull a small group, then I'll pull my small group then, and that's either based on House Bill 45 kids, or students that were absent, or students who are still struggling even with, so we have that intervention time.
Okay.
You know, during our enrichment
time.
So if they're still struggling during that, then they can't be at a workshop because they're not performing on grade level. So I pull them again, and we try to fill those gaps and get them where they need to be.
Very good. Okay. You know, going with your lesson plan, you have the I do, the closed notes, and that was the triangle that they used throughout the we do and the you do. And then the activity was the add 3. And then y'all do SkyJo. Can you tell me what SkyJo about SkyJo?
It's another game, and that is just adding and subtracting integers. So it's like a set of cards, like -2 to 12 maybe, and they set it up in a grid 4x3.
Oh, okay.
And they get to flip 2 over, and whoever has the largest sum gets to go first. So they're already starting with.
Oh, okay.
And they have their 2 piles here. If they pick from the discard pile, they can only trade with the face down cards. If they pick from the discard pile, they can trade any cards, and the objective is to have the lowest sum at the end.
Oh, wow, that's hard.
Yeah.
Okay. That really gets them with that adding and subtracting integers practice.
Yeah.
That's really cool. How do they like it a lot?
I do like a big celebration for like winners.
Oh, okay.
And they get like big prizes for winning. So whenever there's someone who can win a big prize, they get really motivated.
Of course. And then, you know, you had, you know, the exit ticket at the end, which I saw, which was very good. How they had the right to explain. So you had a very good sequential lesson plan. Everything flowed well. There was really no big gaps. Everything just looked like it was seamlessly executed. So the 1.2 data and assessment, like I said, you use formal and informal methods to measure the student progress. I rated you and then managed and analyzed the data to inform instruction. I rated you as accomplished in this. You know, I really felt that you used informal and formal assessments to monitor the understanding of the lesson. You used informal to address the reteaching at the small group lesson. I really liked how you said, my teacher table is open during this activity if you feel you need help. So that just made everybody feel comfortable. And I saw kids were coming to you, or you were like, go ahead and sit at my table, and then you went and you worked with them. I think it was really good that they were able to monitor their own understanding
Mhm.
and identify if they needed the help,
Mhm.
and then they could come to you.
Mhm.
So, and then you use that data and you listened to what they said and saw their work, and you were able to reteach something or clear misconceptions.
Mhm.
And then you also walked around the room, and you responded to specific student needs, both academically and social emotionally. So you were very supportive. If a student, was not understanding, you were positive with them on how to fix any errors that they had.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really good. And the end of the lesson exit ticket, where they had to look at the equation and write how they would solve it, I thought that was very, very high level, because most just want to solve it, but getting them to, like you said, write the words
Yeah.
is very, anytime we can get them to write, like
Mhm.
you've said before, is very, very
And I
stick.
specifically picked a subtraction problem, so they would have to tell me keep, change.
Oh, so you
Because that's something that they're still struggling with.
Mhm.
So I'll have another exit ticket again, and it'll be another subtraction
Mhm.
problem, just so every time they see subtraction, they're gonna tell me keep, change.
Oh, good. Okay, that's good that you knew that ahead of time.
Yeah.
Well, that's with that content expertise, where the misconception is going to come. So that was very good. 1.3, knowledge of students through knowledge. Proven practices, teacher ensures high levels of learning. I gave you proficient in that. I said that, you did a hands-on activity that enhanced their learning, and the activity ensured high level of learning and supported their needs. And then you ensured that all students had a triangle of addition and subtraction symbols to help them determine if they would add or subtract the integers. And then you refer to previous skills prior to this lesson. You were reviewing with them, they were responding to your questions. So you could tell that they had retained previous knowledge in order to help them be successful.
Yeah.
So you knew what they have been taught, and you knew what they needed in order to be successful. And then 1.4, the activities, the teacher plans engaging flexible lessons that encourage higher order thinking, persistent achievement. I rated you as proficient in that. It was students were adding and subtracting integers with their partners. They were given a deck of cards. The black were positive, red were negative, and the students had to flip the cards to determine whether the numbers were positive or negative in order to know what to do with that. I mean, everything they needed to do with the group, they did. With you, they did on their own. So it carried right over, and they were bounced. They were asking each other questions too, like, "Oh, are you sure this is adding and subtracting?" And then they're like, "Well, use your triangle," and they were doing it. So I mean, they were using all of the things that you provided for them for the activity. So very well done.
Thank you.
Okay. Do you have any questions so far about anything?
No.
Okay. All right. So domain 2, instruction. So 2.1, achieving expectations. The teacher supports all learners in their pursuit of high levels of academic and social emotional success. I rated you as proficient with that. And I said that the lesson provided the expectations for the students to connect previous learning and explain what they do when they see the positive and negative numbers. The content language objectives along with essential questions were clear and posted and referenced. I mean, you had quality questions in your lesson plans and you used them in the lesson. And your DLI was very friendly. I will use rules for integer addition and subtraction. And so it's very kid friendly. They knew exactly what the DLI was when I asked them. So they were good. The teacher encourages students to take initiative of their own learning by assigning roles and responsibilities during the structured time. So you were very clear with one person will get supplies, each person will have a recording sheet, and then you'll collaborate to determine if you will add or subtract integers. So everybody knew exactly what was expected of them. And then you encourage the students to use their triangle to help them determine if they will add or subtract the integers. And that promoted the opportunity for students to take initiative of their own learning. So very well done with that.
Thank you.
Next one, 2.2, content knowledge and expertise. The teacher uses content and pedagogical expertise.
It's been a minute since I've said that word.
Yeah, it's been to design and execute lessons aligned with state-related content standards and student needs. I ranked you as accomplished in this. You were prepared for the lesson. You studied the curriculum. You knew the TEAC, the content standards that supported that TEAC. You knew which day in the unit that you were, and you were very well prepared. And you used the end of the unit assessment to plan lessons backwards. So you look at the assessment and use that to plan lessons so you know what they're prepared for at the end of the unit. So that's helpful. And then you provided students with, you know, the different types of thinking. They were critically thinking, analyzing. I know they were working together. Didn't mean to say think. I know they were because I saw it. So I grade you as, you know, accomplished in that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. 2.3, communication. The teacher clearly and accurately communicates to support persistent, deeper learning and effective effort. I rate you as accomplished on this. You had great communication. They had to play the game. You explained the rules and the expectations. The game provided students with the opportunity to communicate effectively using mathematical vocabulary and the triangle with their notebook. The students were encouraged to communicate effectively, including the use of the visual tools. So you were able to, and you were also, when you were pulling the small groups, you were able to adjust your teaching to meet the need of that student. You knew exactly what to say. You knew where the, you know, misconceptions were and how to address it. And then 2.4, differentiation. The teacher differentiates instruction, aligning methods and techniques to diverse student needs. You know, it was adapted to meet the needs of all students. You regularly monitor the quality of the participation and performance. It was evident when you were working with students at your teacher table and you were listening and you would say, I should be hearing conversation that is on topic. And it got the students right back on track. And going back forth, you know, your use of champs before you went, I thought that was great. You just wrote it on the board and it was in kid-friendly language and you could tell that you have different champs expectations. Is that for each activity that you do?
Yeah.
You go over and say what they are. And the kids knew exactly what to do. They knew the vocabulary that you used for champs, so you can tell that you utilize champs regularly in your classroom. And then you did also walk around after the students who came to the teacher table and went back to their teams, and then you checked with them to see how they were doing with the activity. And if somebody needed something extra, you pulled them to the table and you worked with them and then you sent them back. I thought that was important because you got that one-on-one time with them instead of addressing them in their group. They could focus on you instead of, yes, and then it's a table full of friends which they were grouped together nicely, but you got that one-on-one time with them. And then 2.5, monitor and adjust. You formally and informally collect, analyze, and use student progress data and make, you know, decisions as needed. I rate you as proficient in that. You know, you walked around the room to check in. You used quality questions to monitor how the students were understanding. I liked how you were just walking around and asking some questions to see how they were doing, and you knew what to do if they did or did not know. You did request, you know, some students to sit at the table so you could do the activity with them, and then they were able to go back and seamlessly just blend back in with their group. So whatever you were doing when you were doing your activities at the teacher table, it just transferred. And then that cleared up misconceptions and offered scaffolded support, and they were able to leave during the whole teach and go back. So very good with that.
Yeah, she gets a little grumpy if she didn't get a good night's sleep. So I was like, I'm just gonna let you.
Oh, that one student?
Yeah, and
Yes.
I'll take care of it later.
Yeah, so that happens frequently. As frequently. Yeah. How
And
long?
then we have some behavior issues of like throwing chairs and stuff if she gets, you know.
Yeah.
So I just let her sleep, and then once it's time for the fun stuff, she's like, "Oh, now I want to play," and I'm like, "Sorry, we got to do this first." And then
Oh,
we can
see?
go.
Yeah, that's holding them accountable. Yeah, you might need a little bit of sleep, but when you wake up, we have to do school, and then you can go do that.
Yeah.
And does she respond well to that when you do that? Like, oh, come up here with me first.
The first couple of times she tried doing something like behavior, and she didn't get her way, so she's kind of learned. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think it's great that you're holding her accountable. You're you're accommodating, you're meeting her needs because she obviously needs that sleep. But at the same time, you're also holding her accountable. Be like, hey, you still have to come over here and do your learning.
Yeah.
So
I'm not letting it be. I'm not going to tissue.
Oh yes, go right ahead.
I'm not letting it be an escape.
Right. No, you're not. Because that can quickly turn into an escape. Absolutely. All right. So do you have any questions about the dimension.
Do you have any suggestions for differentiation?
The differentiation, so I was thinking like when we were talking about the, adding an area for those that need the extra support with writing. You could have had a little section for that. The sentence stems would have been a good, maybe a good possibility. You could have even maybe have given them some, maybe they had some Post-its where they could have some plus and minus signs, addition, subtraction signs on it to move around and on the triangle. That might, or cover up if the figure was too much. That could have been good for some of those that need a visual.
Laminated ones would be good too.
Oh, laminated ones.
They could do it with their expos.
There you go. There you go. See, an expo is a good idea too. And then, on the recording sheet, I liked how it was laid out. I took a copy of it. I like how you had it laid out. But yes, like a little maybe area for them to draw themselves on the recording sheet. Like they can draw how you said
Their models.
They can draw their models. So just some area maybe to work that they can put their, do like a brain dump and get their thoughts out, draw the triangle themselves, or, write things that help them remember, just like stop and jot notes.
Okay.
So, but I like the idea of the cards. That might have been a good thing to get them something in their hands.
Yeah.
Or if
Seems
they,
more of like a game that way.
yes. Or if you cook the triangle and maybe if you cut it into the 3 parts, that might be a good idea. That way they can take the pieces and put it together and see what's missing, and that's what they would have to do, or something like that, where it would be a little bit more in your. But I like the cards. The playing cards were fun, but as far as making maybe a little differentiation with the triangle, that might be a good idea to try, and see how it goes. Okay, so we have the third domain, which is your classroom environment. So 3.1, classroom environment rules, routines, and procedures. The teacher organizes a safe, accessible, and efficient classroom. I rate you as proficient on that. You had clear routines, procedures. The kids knew what to do, like with their bins, and safe movement around the room was, I think, very important to observe because they are such big bodies. And, that block, like you did say in our pre-conference, you have some behaviors in those blocks. And I did observe those abundant behaviors, to put it that way. And they're big personalities in that room. And the way, I like how you let them be them. You let them be boisterous. You let them, speak their mind, but they were very respectful to you about it. So you could tell that you've made the line of respect in your classroom. And we all have our respect agreements, and you could tell that you've done something with that, and they do follow and they respect you because you've set clear expectations for them. So it was very well run. 3.2, managing student behavior. You established, communicate, and maintain clear expectations for behavior. I like how you thanked the students that were on task instead of addressing the ones who were off task. You were like, thank you so-and-so for getting started on your activity. Thank you so-and-so for raising your hand to answer my question. And those that were not doing it were slowly following suit. So I think identifying the positives like you did with the behavior was very good.
Thank you.
Instead of just pointing out, what kids aren't doing. Because it is exhausting, and as adults we don't like to be told what we do, and it is life. You are going to have to be told, hey, didn't like that you did this, but approaching it in a positive way I think is very good. Plus they're hearing you say what you like all the time. They're hearing you say,
oh yeah, I didn't think about that.
Miss Perez thanked the student because they got started right away. That must be something that she really likes. So because if a kid's always hearing something they're not doing right, they're gonna get shut down. And then classroom culture. The teacher leads a mutually respectful and collaborative class of actively engaged learners. I rate you as accomplished in that because, like I said, you let the kid, bless you, you let the kids be them. And you were actually engaging with one student because he was trying to say that he beat you in games, and you just got right back with him. You're like, you've never beat me in a game that you've ever played. And the class laughed. And that just, shows that, you know, you're trying to build those relationships and, you know, and it shows your personality, you know, because they only see us as teachers. They only think we act one way, but you know, teachers have personality. Principals have personality. We got to show who we are. You know, I think it's important that you do that with them and you know, engage with them and you talked with them on their level. You showed them respect, they showed you respect. And if you didn't like something that like you said, you were just like, oh, thank you for so-and-so doing what they're supposed to be doing. And I like how this person is doing, you know, their work. And thank you for using kind words. And it was just a really collaborative environment, especially when they work together. I saw it. It was a really beautiful thing to see.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And, you know, some additional comments, I said that, you know, Ms. Perez, you know, you're very encouraging and motivating. You tell the students, you know, it's okay if you make a mistake or do not understand, and they just you want them to try. And it's evident that the students enjoy your class and all the students are engaged and working hard to achieve their goals. You know, we say that students don't learn from people they don't like. And that's true. They don't. And you've worked very hard to create a classroom culture of collaboration. It's inclusive, it's ethical, it's equitable. Everyone's learning, everyone's on the same, you've met the needs of everybody and they all feel like they're on the same. I think that's great. Let's see where I lost my place. Oh, you utilize student leaders in the class by having them model and use mathematical language to justify their answers. They're encouraged to inspire each other to work harder. You know, when I saw students having some questions about what to do, one person did jump in, their partner, and be like, oh, remember if we did this? And they checked it. Or they're like, oh, let me see what you did. Okay. And it was just really nice to see that they felt comfortable not knowing a question or an answer. So, and they didn't rely on you. Which I think is important. They had enough independence and confidence to rely on their partners. And they didn't always sit there and need to go, Miss Perez, because they had tools in their toolbox.
That's always a struggle at the beginning because they want me to fix it. And I'm like, look in your journal. They're like, I didn't take my notes. I was like, sorry. Hey, sorry for your luck. You know, I gave it to you. You got to make I was up there for 15 minutes. And, you know, having them know that you're doing your job, they have to do theirs too. So I think that's good. It's a hard balance to find. Like I said before, I like that you use champs and good conversations and collaboration with groups to create a collaborative learning environment. You asked if they were following champs' expectations. Like I said, if they were off task, you would say, that's not my expectation. And that's all you would have to say. And they knew exactly what you meant. You didn't have to go into any other detail. So I thought that was a great thing. And the students, and then they didn't engage in the misbehavior again. They knew you meant business. They weren't going to try you. You said it in your diplomatic tone. That is not my expectation. And I was like, wow, that was very well delivered. And I was curious to see how they would react. And they knew exactly what to do. They nodded. They're like, okay. And they got right back to work. So I think that was great. And you promote positive student behavior by implementing a behavior system. I see you pass out the tickets. I did have a question. What do the students do with the tickets they earn? We have a lot of different passes that they can buy. So they have a BYOB, bring your own ball pass for recess, because they don't like the ones that are downstairs. They have music pass during independent practice, so they can listen to music that's school appropriate. They can do lunch with a movie. They can do lunch and a movie with a teacher. Friend lunch. Prize box. Unhealthy snack pass.
Very good. Those are all student friendly too. Do you let them have a voice in what some of their passes can be?
So I made a rewards request. Google form. So, and that's on their Canvas, available to them whenever they want. Some of them, you know, they're like 20 tickets for free time for the entire block. I'm like, no. But some of them are really good. I have to add some more, but a student suggested a fast pass for lunch, so they get to go to the front. And I was like, easy.
That's a good one. Especially with you go to the theme parks, fast passes are everywhere. And Disney, is so big with all those magic wands and the bracelets. I think that's good. That's a good. I like that you're giving them a voice in it. I know some other grade levels that have done that. They've opened the floor for student suggestions, and
because I don't know what they like anymore.
No.
I thought they still like stickers, but apparently they don't.
Oh, stickers are not the thing in sixth grade?
Not anymore.
Oh, all right.
It's surprising they like those little mochi things, squishy things.
Oh, yeah.
Come on.
That one's that collect dirt
yes.
when you drop it?
Yes, disgusting.
All right. So, do you have any questions about how I rated you?
No. Okay.
So, we always like to go over like an area of reinforcement and an area of refinement. So, in your area of reinforcement, I chose 3.1, the learning environment, routines, procedures. I said that you provided all the materials that the students needed to be successful in class. You spent time preparing the detailed lesson plans, I love looking at your lesson plans. They're organized. I like how you have links in them so you can click and open them. And your hands-on activities with all the materials they need. And you even had an organization, even though you had students tell you what kind of groups they wanted, you still had a system ready to go. And so you were very organized with that. The classroom could run independently using student leaders. All students know how to access their materials. The students have access to instructions, manipulative exemplars, and partners in their group and table team. So, I think that's a great strength of yours.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. And then, always something to work on in the area of refinement. I picked, dimension 2.3, which is the communication piece in the instruction. How do you encourage student-to-student communication in small group is something to think about. So when, how would you maybe when they're in the small group getting them, because some friends did not talk as much as others. So what could you do to possibly promote some more communication in small group?
Probably, I don't know who, maybe Miss K, like talking sticks.
Oh.
And they physically have 3 sticks and they have to talk 3 times.
Oh, okay. That's a great idea. Yeah.
So there's my one. I talked once.
Oh, okay. That's a good idea.
So I can do that.
Yeah, definitely. That would definitely get them talking.
Yeah.
You explain how you do this during the lessons, but during that small group time, or when they were doing their games, some friends weren't talking as much as others, though. So that's just something. I think the talking sticks is a great idea to get them talking more. You provided opportunities for students to communicate during the class and during your table time, but when they were on their own, some weren't as talkative as others. So just something to think about. And then that will give you the opportunity to teach the class and show the mastery of objectives through presenting with math vocabulary. So action items, just continue to engage the students in math conversation. I think the talking sticks is a great thing to start with. Encourage students to talk with each other when in small group. And I also, maybe provide some sentence stems, like we talked about, to help students speak mathematically and engage in conversation. And I already talked about with you, the one thing you wanted me to observe was, the student-centered, and we talked about, adding some more areas for them to do some more writing themselves. So, but overall, I think, it was a great lesson, and I just thank you so much for having me in your room. And let me know how the talking sticks go, and if you need any other support, we have our instructional coaches that you can reach out to. You have Ms. Constantine. And then, let me know, because we can certainly, if I can get you an answer, I will get an answer for you, or I would love to collaborate with you. So, okay?
Thank you.
All right, thank you.